Welcome to the Albuquerque Journal Midweek Blitz High School Football Show with your hosts, James Yodice and Jeff Grammer. This show is sponsored by Western New Mexico University.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Midweek Blitz, the Albuquerque Journal's podcast of high school athletics. My name is James Yodice. I'm the high school sports editor at the Journal. Welcome you to our Week 10 edition. We're getting right down to the meat of it. We only have 2 weeks left in the regular season for the big classes, the 11-man classes. 6 and 8-man are going to their playoffs starting next week. They're finishing up with their regular season this week. So we got a lot to talk about today. We're gonna revisit some of the top games from Week 9 last weekend, and we're going to talk about some of the big games, and there are a lot of them coming up here in Week 10. We're also going to talk about some of our top performers of the week for our Stars of the Week poll, and we'll go over a couple other things here at the end. So why don't we jump right into it? As we reflect on Week 9, obviously the big game in the state was the battle at the Wool Bowl in Artesia between Artesia and Roswell High School, a game that Roswell won 29-8. These were the top 2 ranked teams in the state overall, according to the MaxPreps.com rankings, which rank everybody. And Roswell went out and put out a great defensive performance on Friday night, kept Artesia's offense out of the end zone, which is really hard to do. The one Artesia touchdown came late in the game on a pick 6. So Roswell's defense pitched a shutout, which is unbelievably impressive when you consider that Artesia was averaging about 47 points a game coming into this showdown. Roswell's defense was particularly good in the red zone. Artesia had a couple of drives inside the 10-yard line in the first half that did not result in any points. Artesia rolled the dice a couple of times, went for it on 4th down. Roswell's defense came up with the big play when it needed to. As we reflect on this game, which I was at, that was the big takeaway for me. And I think if these two teams should meet again down the road, and there's no reason to think that they won't, that would be the most interesting thing to watch is, can Artesia finish drives when they get into the red zone? This Roswell defense has been, and we've talked about them in other podcasts this season, this Roswell defense has been just fantastic all year. They've only given up more than 10 points in one game, and that was their season opener. They've given up just 52 points in 8 wins. That's just maybe 6.5 points a game. That is just tremendous work. So all credit to Roswell. This was a statement game for them. Several of Roswell's players talked to me after the game, and they felt like last year when Artesia beat them, that Artesia was the more physical team, the more aggressive team, and asserted itself right from the start. And I think Roswell very much wanted to turn the tables a bit on Artesia this time, which they did. And they got out to a 29-0 lead. Roswell had a defensive touchdown as well, a fumble returned by Mason Greathouse. And Roswell was the more physical team in this game. They were more physical in the run game. They were more physical on defense. Bryce Sanchez, their big 200-pound running back, he didn't get into the end zone on Friday night, but he did have a big night, 29 carries, 187 yards. He was a tone setter almost all the way throughout the game. And I had a chance to catch up with Bryce after the game, and this is what he had to say.
So we're visiting here with Roswell high running back Bryce Sanchez, who was over 100 yards tonight. Roswell beats Artesia 29-8. Tell me how you guys got it done tonight.
We came out, we had a good run game in the first half, they weren't really expecting it, a lot of GT counters, and, that was kind of getting them, so we're kind of running that a lot. My line block great, none of those yards come without my line, they really got physical. Last year we were preaching about how they came out real physical on us, and, this year we really wanted to show them, we're the more physical team, and, that's what we had to get done.
How much did you guys feel like you were the more physical team tonight?
Oh, I think throughout the whole game, honestly, all humble, but, I think we came out more physical than they did.
Let's talk about your defense for a second. They've been amazing all year. And actually, this is their first true shutout, even though they had the pick 6 there at the end. Talk about how good this defense has been playing.
Our defense is so good, well coached and well disciplined. They're all in the film room like 24/7. They study everything, they know everything. They're all very smart, very physical. Our DBs are great. They're since sophomores, our DBs have been, great. So now they're coming up senior year, they know just about everything.
Will this team put this win behind you quickly?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Coach Lynn was preaching, this game doesn't define our season. We got to, we still got, 5 more games to a state championship. We got to keep going.
Okay, so that is Bryce Sanchez, Roswell's very, very big and bruising running back. So Roswell takes the lead in that district, which has 2 more weeks left in the regular season, as does everybody else in the 11-man classifications. Roswell will turn its attention to Mayfield this week. Artesia is going to go home and play Goddard. Goddard, I believe, is ranked 3rd behind Roswell, the new number 1, and Artesia. So that'll be another strong test for Artesia. We'll see how they bounce back here in Week 10. So let's visit real quickly on some of the other key games from Week 9, particularly Sandia and Farmington in District 2-6A. This was a game Sandia was leading 27-6 in the 4th quarter. Farmington came all the way back, took the lead 28-27 very late in this game with a couple of minutes left. And the Matadors, led by Cruz Rivera, they're a very underrated quarterback, a kid that has played really terrific football and has been producing enough big plays to keep this offense going and has been a great game manager for this team. Cruz Rivera leads Sandia on a game-winning touchdown drive, which ends with a touchdown run going down to the final minute. And Sandia gets this win 35-28 over Farmington. Sandia is now 3-0 in district, and this sets up a very big game on Friday night with La Cueva, which is 2-0 in district. This will be Sandia's last district game of the year coming up this week. They go outside their district to play Cibola in Week 11. But all credit to Sandia. This defense has been, by and large, one of the most consistent in Class 6A. And this team has, even Coach Chad Ackox would say, I think, underachieved on offense, but that part of the ball is coming around. So Sandia is definitely in line for a potential top 4 seed in the playoffs, which, of course, means a first-round bye. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But Sandia is now 6-2 overall, 3-0 in the district, and a terrific win over Farmington, who's been a team hard to figure out. Farmington's now going to come back down here on Saturday, play El Dorado, and then Farmington still has to play La Cueva in the last week of the season. So moving right along, let's move into Class 4A. Two of our better Class 4A teams, Bernalillo and Albuquerque Academy, both went on the road last week. Bernalillo went down to Lovington. Academy was in Portales. This was probably the strongest tests for both of those teams. Bernalillo didn't show too badly. They lost 47-26 at Lovington. Academy got beaten up pretty good by Portales, which is the best 4A team in the state, in my opinion, and I've only seen them a little bit in person. But Portales beat Academy 54-0. So Portales and Lovington still continue to assert their dominance in that district, and both of those teams are going to be here in the metro area this week. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Moving along, Highland is a team that I wanted to talk about in Class 5A. Highland has won 5 games in a row now, and they're starting to heat up, and they had a huge come-from-behind win over Belen last week. Highland was down 30-20 in the 4th quarter. When the 4th quarter began, Highland was down 10 points, put up a couple of scores late, and win this game 32-30. I thought, and Belen is winless, I thought this was a trap game for Highland all along. I thought this was a game that Belen might be able to catch them, and they almost did. But Highland is humming along very nicely, and this is a game they had to have if they want to get to the playoffs. Highland's going to turn around and play Piedra Vista this week, which is probably the favorite in that district. So a very big win for Highland, and they're running back a big kid like Bryce Sanchez from Roswell. Amiri Mumba from Highland had over 300 yards in this game, and he was just tremendous. And he's been just really a rock for Highland throughout the season, and especially during this 5-game winning streak. So the last game I want to talk about from Week 9 real quick is the La Cueva-West Mesa game, which was on Saturday at Wilson Stadium. These two teams, you may remember, combined to set the state record last year for combined points in a game with 151 points. La Cueva beat them 89-62. This was a year ago. So this was their first meeting, obviously, since that game. La Cueva comes away, wins 54-26 in this game. So they score 80 points, a little more than half of what the total was last year. Cam Dyer with a couple of big touchdown runs in the 3rd quarter. They're La Cueva's quarterback, 53 yards, 70 yards, a couple of big touchdown runs in that 3rd quarter to help La Cueva get separation and help La Cueva get to 2-0 in district. La Cueva's 5-3 overall. La Cueva's won 5 in a row. And as we mentioned a second ago, La Cueva's going to be playing Sandia on Friday. So La Cueva's offense has been heating up. This team has been, since that opening stretch of the season, which included a forfeit to Rio Rancho, plus losses to Cleveland and Centennial, La Cueva has started to heat up. They are angling, to maybe even be a 2 seed for the state playoffs. And we'll have the bracket coming out late next week. But La Cueva is certainly looking like they are going to be a factor, even though they lost to both Centennial and Cleveland early in the regular season. I do think La Cueva has turned it around to the extent that La Cueva is going to be a factor in November. And if they were to play Centennial or Cleveland or both of them again, I would expect the results to be certainly much closer. I don't know if they'll change, but I certainly expect them to be much closer the next time. So La Cueva got a head of steam going into the Sandia game on Friday at Wilson Stadium. So let us move along. We're going to talk about some of the top stars from last week. And as a precursor, I should mention Amiri Mumba from Highland is not on this list this week. I didn't have his stats in time to nominate him. He would have been on this list ordinarily. He had over 300 yards, as I mentioned, for Highland in their win over Belen. So I did not get a chance to put him on the list. So that if you're wondering why he's not on it, that is the reason. So we're going to run down the 6 nominees this week. Bryce Sanchez from Roswell, who we spoke about a minute ago, 29 carries, a $187, really was a dominant force in the state's biggest 5A game of the year. Really just fun to watch this kid. He was a load. DeMarcus Thompson, a receiver, senior wide receiver from Lovington, caught 5 touchdown passes for the Wildcats in their win over Bernalillo. Harris Mawea from Cleveland, his numbers were more modest, but when you consider he put up a $127, 2 touchdowns in barely a half of work in Cleveland's win over Trisco Heritage, he merits mention here this week. Cam Dyer, we talked about from La Cueva, counted for 6 touchdowns, I believe, including 4 rushing touchdowns in that win over West Mesa, which we just spoke about. Saul Armendariz from Hobbs, senior running back, broke a school record for Hobbs, rushed 18 times for 347 yards, 3 touchdowns in Hobbs' victory last week. So kudos to him. And our final nominee comes from a school that we don't usually talk about a lot, which is Espanola Valley. Adric De Leon, senior running back from Espanola Valley, 22 carries, 324 yards, 5 touchdowns in a very crucial win over Taos last week. And Espanola is going to have a big game coming up with Moriarty actually this week, because Espanola is in a position maybe to win this district if they can find a way to beat Moriarty on Friday. So those are our candidates for this week. The voting has been extremely heavy toward one person, and that is the last kid I just mentioned, Adric De Leon from Espanola Valley, who's got 84.1% of the vote as I do this podcast here on Tuesday afternoon. Schools can continue, I got clear my voice for a second. Schools can continue to vote for our top star of the week all the way through the end of the week, and then we'll announce the winner this weekend. So, and we've only got a couple of weeks left for our stars of the week. So kudos to all those guys for their work this weekend. We had several kids over 300 yards. You like to see the alpha kids start to do their thing when we get to this point of the season.
Education and training at Western New Mexico University is accessible from every corner of the land of enchantment, providing limitless opportunities toward success for more than a century. And now, through the New Mexico Opportunity Scholarship, tuition and fees are covered for anyone looking to start or start over. Along with free tuition, books are always included for every WNMU student, assuring your only worry is how far you can actually go. Lift off toward your future and endless potential at WNMU today.
So wanted to speak briefly about my prep picks from last week. It was a good week, one of my better weeks of the year. We had 21 games on our schedule. I went 19-2 this week, and the 2 games I missed were super close. I missed Albuquerque High's win 14-13 in overtime on Saturday over Capital. That was a nice win for the Bulldogs. And I also missed Sandia's win over Farmington on Friday. Sandia's a team I have struggled to get right in recent weeks. And actually, I've struggled with them the entire season. So Sandia's a team I've been on the fence about on several of these games and gone the wrong direction. But so yeah, good week. I did have the Roswell Artesia game correct. I did take the Coyotes. I felt like that was a strong way to go. And I hit most of the other close games that were on the schedule that we had, like St. Mike's over Raton, Hope over Tucumcari, and a couple of others. So on the whole, not too bad. I'm just over 80% for the year. 80% is usually the lowest I'll accept. So hoping to finish with 2 strong weeks, but going to be a lot of tough games on the board, both here in Week 10 and in Week 11. And we're going to start on Thursday night with a matchup at Milne Stadium between Valley and Los Alamos. That's going to be ultimately a district championship type game between the Hilltoppers and Vikings. When these two teams met last year, Los Alamos got them, and Los Alamos won the district, got a first-round home game. Valley had to go on the road. So Valley's been thinking about this game for a full calendar year. So this is a chance for Valley to put itself in contention for a first-round home game. If Valley does not win this game, Valley's going to be on the road almost certainly in the first round of the playoffs. So this is a very key game for both of these teams. As we move into Friday, we just have a bunch of games that are worth mentioning and all have implications. We mentioned Sandia La Cueva. Let me say, if Sandia beats La Cueva on Friday, Sandia wins this district. That's it. Sandia will have finished 4-0 in district. That's it. If La Cueva wins this game on Friday, then we still have the possibility, mathematically, of a three-way tie in this district between Sandia, La Cueva, and Farmington, perhaps, because Farmington still gets to play La Cueva next week. So much on the line in this game. Lovington and Portales, as we mentioned, are both going to be here in the Albuquerque metro area on Friday. Lovington is playing Academy at 3 o'clock on Friday. That's a special start time, 3 o'clock. Academy has to get ready for a huge cross-country meet on Saturday, so that's why they're playing Friday afternoon. And Portales is going to be in Bernalillo at 7 o'clock. If Lovington and Portales win these games, then that's it. Those two will play for a district title next week. And then Academy and Bernalillo are going to be left playing each other the last week, looking for seeding position. I think these are obviously two playoff teams. So big games for Academy and Bernalillo this week. One of the best games of the week, maybe the best game of the week, is out at Community Stadium on Friday night, Rio Rancho and Volcano Vista. And I will tell you why. Volcano Vista is in line for a top 4 seed in Class 6A if it wins this game. It must win this game. If Volcano wins, I believe that's your number 4 seed for the Class A state playoffs. I think everyone agrees on this. If Rio Rancho were to win this game, it's going to create some turmoil. It's going to bring the Rams into possibly contention for a top 4 seed because Rio Rancho still has to play Cleveland. It brings Sandia potentially into the conversation for a top 4 seed. So there's a lot to watch in this game. And I'm really fascinated to see how this works out. We've got some great athletes on display in this game. So that game will have a lot of ramifications. I think Volcano Vista and Rio Rancho both know what's at stake here. We mentioned Moriarty and Espanola. Moriarty won its district opener. Espanola Valley beat Taos. So this game is for the district lead in that league. Moriarty's been pretty solid all year. Espanola Valley, really nice win over Taos last week. That was a result that was one of the most impressive from Week 9. And now Espanola has a chance. Honestly, Espanola Valley finds a way to beat Moriarty. That's a team that probably ends up winning the district. All they'll need to do is beat Pewaukee in the final week. So this game, a lot of ramifications in that district as well. Bloomfield and Aztec are meeting in the Northwest. Those are the two best teams in that district. Aztec has had a fine season. They really have. But Bloomfield has been just really blowing the doors off most everybody they play, including that game against Silver a couple of weeks back. So Bloomfield going to be a heavy favorite here, but this is a great regional rivalry between the Bobcats and the Tigers. So Aztec has a chance to make some noise playing at home on Friday. We mentioned Goddard and Artesia. Goddard beat Mayfield last week, so now they're going into Bulldog Bowl to play Artesia. Artesia certainly is going to want to get its act together. I know the Bulldogs were not very pleased with the way they played in the Roswell game. Much of that had to do with Roswell. Some of it was their own doing, to be fair. So that's a game I'll be interested to watch and see how Artesia bounces back. We have 2 big 8-man games coming up on Friday. The top 2 ranked teams, Fort Sumner House, that's a co-op, are playing at Melrose. That's a great regional rivalry. Those two schools are only separated by about 30 miles out on the Eastern Plains. That is a great small school rivalry. And then the other one is going to be played at Manal. Legacy Academy, just its second year of football, playing at Manal. Legacy is actually probably the favorite in this game. Legacy, the program is young, but it's had a great year. They've had a couple of big road wins, and they're probably coming in as the favorite in this game. Now, Manal beat them in a close game last year. I believe it was 26-20. So that's going to be a really fun game to watch, and there are certainly playoff implications on the line there. A couple more games I want to mention real quick. Robertson and Raton from that crazy district in Class 3A. Those two getting together. Raton coming off a very tough road loss at St. Mike's last weekend. And St. Mike's beat Robertson the week before that. So now Robertson plays at Raton on Friday, key game in District 2 3A. And then Silver, another one of 4A's best teams, along with Portales and Lovington. They're also going to be in the metro area this weekend. They are going to be playing at St. Pius on Saturday afternoon. Silver, St. Pius, Grants, and Valencia are all in a district together. St. Pius had a very close win over Valencia last week. Valencia missed a field goal with 2 seconds left that would have won the game. So St. Pius won their district opener. Silver won their district opener. So this is for first place in that district. Silver honestly comes in as a prohibitive favorite. St. Pius, super young. And a quick side note about St. Pius, this is a team with a heck of a lot of freshmen playing in key positions for the Sartans. And I think maybe not next year, but maybe in 2 years, St. Pius is going to be a team that we're going to have on our radar, I think, in the mix to win a state title. Their young athletes are super fun to watch, and they are highly skilled. So St. Pius is not there yet. They're young. They're probably too young to handle Silver, and that's okay. But they're going to be a force to watch maybe into the second half of next year, definitely beyond that into 2025. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. And one quick other note too, Ruidoso, last year's Class 3A state champion, is also in town this weekend. Ruidoso is playing Hope Christian on Saturday. Hope really needs a win, I think, to cement a playoff berth in 3A. Hope is kind of on the bubble. I think they're secure for the moment, but a win over Ruidoso, which has really struggled this year, would go a long way for the Huskies. So as we finish the football portion, one other note I want to get to real quick before we get out of here today. If you're a runner or you're into cross country, one of the regular season's biggest meets is going on Saturday at Albuquerque Academy. It's the pre-state race. Basically, the state meet is held at Academy in November. They host a big regular season meet several weeks prior to that to give all the teams and individuals a chance to look at the state course and run it and compete against other top teams. So nearly all of the top teams in the state in every classification are going to be here in Albuquerque on Saturday. The first race begins at 9. I think the last race goes off at 2:40. They go, I believe, Class 3A will be the first two races, then Class 5A, then Class 1A and 2A, then Class 4A at 2 o'clock and 2:40 will be the last two races of the day. So it's a day-long extravaganza. And if you're looking to see the state's best runners all together, Academy is definitely the place to be on Saturday. So with that, I'm just going to put a bow on today. I appreciate you watching. The Albuquerque Journal has its website has all our podcasts, both Jeff Grammer's and the Midweek Blitz that I have been doing. And you can find that at abqjournal.com. You can also find my high school football picks at abqjournal.com. Last week I went 19-2, had a good week. Looking forward to this week. A lot of tough games to pick this week. So this time of year, you never know. You get a lot of coin flip games. But coming off a good week with the picks, you can find our picks, mine and Bethany Miller from KOAT. You can find them there. And if you need to reach me for anything, if you have a story idea, if you have someone you want to talk about, you can reach me at my email account at the Journal, which is jyodice@abqjournal.com, or on my Twitter account at James D. Yodice. Drop me a note if you have anything you want to talk about, kids we're not talking about that you feel like we should. Yeah, come on in, let me know, and we'll see what we can do. In the meantime, thank you for watching. We are excited to have Week 11 next week. We got a lot to talk about going into the final week of the regular season, but many big games this week. And we will be back in a week, and we'll wrap up Week 10, and we'll talk about Week 11. Anyway, thank you for joining me. Once again, this has been the Midweek Blitz, part of the Albuquerque Journal podcast. And just remember, if you want to find our podcast, you can do that digitally, and we encourage you to give it a look. And the motto here is read, hear, watch. Thanks for your time today.